Hi, I'm Steven. Um, I'm relatively new to Amazon. Some of you might recognize me from previous talks that I gave with Saad on desktop. But yeah, I am a relatively new product manager at Amazon working on Vega OS and bringing React Native to a whole bunch of new device types, which is super awesome. Some of you might not actually, by raise of hands, how many of you have heard about Vega OS? Wow, that's quite a bit. That's awesome. Um, eh, Really, we should look back in time a little bit. 18 years ago, in the fall of 2007, the OG Kindle came out, and over time, the number of devices has significantly increased over the last, you know, decade. There's multiple operating systems, multiple types of input modalities, there's multiple types of interaction models, and there's just so many different ways to build devices, to build operating systems, and to build apps. And Vega OS is our purpose-built operating system based on Linux that spans across device types and modalities. Although we announced Vega OS just a couple weeks ago, we've actually shipped Vega OS devices starting several years ago. Um, we didn't announce it at the time, but earlier devices like the Echo Show 5, the Echo Hub, and Echo Spot were all built on Vega OS. And there's a whole new host of Alexa Plus devices that are built on Vega OS. And what's really noteworthy about these is that Vega OS allowed us to create really great experiences faster, cheaper, more effectively, so that we were able to bring these devices to market with a really awesome Alexa Plus experience. But today we're going to spend most of our time focusing on TV. The Fire TV 4K Select is our first Vega OS device that allows for third-party app submissions from you, hopefully. By a show of hands, how many of you were at the Vega OS workshop yesterday? Okay, great. So you have some of these devices, and I'm looking forward to seeing your devices or your apps shipped to the App Store here very, very soon. This is our most powerful 4K device. We've been shipping sticks over the last couple of years, but this is our most powerful and performant device, even if it only has 1 GB of RAM. And rather than just telling you, I want to show you a quick demo. So this demo on the left is Vega, on the right is a comparable Fire OS experience, and this is the boot time. And you'll notice that on the left, we're already able to interact with our content. We're already able to start, engaging with this experience way faster before the equivalent Fire OS experience even finishes booting. We did a deep dive at ReactConf earlier this year, and I didn't present. We had some other folks from Amazon presenting, including Eric and Gio, and I was staffing the booth. This is like everybody has to eat their vegetables. I was staffing the booth, and one of the questions that I got asked at the booth was, what was the biggest problems that you had to solve? What were the biggest problems that you had to solve when you were building Vega OS? And it really got me thinking. The talk that you're at right now is the answer to that question. This isn't a talk about building TV apps. We've given lots of talks about building TV apps, and I imagine many of you are not building a whole new operating system from scratch. This talk is really focused on answering the questions about how what we learned and what you can use to build performant experiences. And frankly, building a new OS from scratch was hard. There's a whole lot of things that we needed to consider. These devices are very hardware constrained. We have to meet developer expectations. There's many different input modalities, and performance is really, really important. And so the way that this talk is structured is we're going to look at some of these challenges and explore how we solve them. And the first challenge that I was curious about when I joined Amazon was how in the world is it possible to create such a performant experience on such limited hardware? Every kilobyte matters. When you only have 1 GB of RAM, you can't just download more gigs on a TV. And we know that bundle size specifically has direct impact on your app's time to interactive, runtime memory consumption, CPU usage during execution. Oh, excuse me. Meaning that it's important to minimize your app bundle on your OS. So how did we do that? We should first look at how it works on iOS and Android. Normally, when you build a React Native app, you're calling, you've at the operating system level, you've got your UI toolkit and system APIs, and then you build your app. Your your application bundles in your React Native framework, your Hermes, your React Android, React iOS, your application logic, your business logic, and your React Native libraries. All of those things are bundled together and they're distributed as an app. Like that's your app. But what if we could take parts of the bundle out that are shared across many different apps and make the app smaller? And that's exactly what we did. The answer to this first challenge that we hit was we maximized performance by bundling the React Native runtime directly into Vega OS. So what does that mean in practice? Like on iOS and Android, we also have a UI toolkit that ships as part of the operating system and a set of system APIs. But we pulled the React Native runtime and Hermes into the OS alongside a set of common shared libraries, which means that your app bundle is really just your app's unique business logic and any app-specific libraries. And because we can share this runtime across multiple apps, when you have multiple apps running, we're using the same shared libraries, runtime, and that results in a fast, smooth, seamless experience. Many of the experiences that you see on Vega OS on Fire TV are built using React Native, and since they're using the same underlying shared infrastructure, that means as you're navigating across all of your different experiences, it goes super quick. It's very fast to move between all of these different experiences. And many of you in the room have taken notice. We've been delighted to see the community reaction, and I actually wanted to call out to Nico here about his tweet after we announced that this is really quite noteworthy. Like the innovation that went into Vega OS is quite noteworthy. But the next question that I had was, okay, well, I know how to build a regular React Native app where I'm bundling the runtime in my app, but what incarnation am I supposed to do? What's the developer experience when a lot of those things are bundled inside the operating system? And for that, I would like to bring Kourtney on stage to talk through the developer experience of building for Vega OS.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you all for the warm welcome. My name is Kourtney Meiss, and I am a developer advocate at Amazon. I'm based out of Austin, and so I'm really excited to be here with you today and share even more about Vega. So diving right in where Stephen left us, this is me. This could be you or any developer wanting to build with Vega. Where do you get started? Well, you go to developer.amazon.com/Vega, where you will find our Vega developer tools that have everything you need to get started. But before we dive into those, I want to give you kind of a quick overview of what the process would be if you were to build an app. So once you're happy with the app that you've built using our tools, you will package it as a V package, and you will distribute it to the Amazon App Store so that users can download your app onto any Vega OS device. All right, but let's dive into some of these Vega developer tools. So you're seeing quite a few on the screen, but I want to draw your attention to just a couple. So the first one is Vega Studio. This is our VS Code extension for building and debugging your app. You can also launch the Vega virtual device to see how your app would actually look if you were running it on Vega OS. And then the last one is React Native for Vega. This is a really key part of our developer toolkit, and so we're going to spend most of our time talking about this one today. So this is our out-of-tree fork of React Native. and it is analogous with any other out-of-tree forks that you might already be familiar with, like tvOS, Windows, or macOS. And I quickly, before I go on, want to draw your attention to the top right-hand side of your screen, where you're seeing our package name is React Native Kepler. And you might have heard Kepler before, and you might be thinking, Kourtney, you have been saying React Native Vega this whole time. I'm confused how these fit together. This is really just due to the project's evolution. Kepler was our internal code name as development went on. So know when you see Kepler, you can think of it as Vega developer tools. But I do want to highlight a couple things about React Native for Vega. So firstly, our fork is built on the new architecture. So we support Fabric, the Fabric component, and Turbo modules. It is optimized for both Echo shows and TV devices. So we already ported over touch and TV remote-based inputs from Android, iOS, and tvOS. And then for any React.js fans in the audience, we do support WebView. Just make sure it's compatible with TV. And then we are running React Native version 72. We know that this is not the latest version, but I am excited to say that we are skipping to version 83 next year. Very excited to be able to say that. So overall, Vega does support over 80% of React Native Core, and we just wanted to be able to enable the reuse of code across Vega and other operating systems. All right, so I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say this to all of you, but one of React Native's superpowers is the huge and diverse community of libraries. React Native directory just hit over 2,000 libraries. And so we know that you're all familiar with downloading them. But I want to go back to the question that Stephen teed up for us earlier. And that was, how can developers build apps when we bundled React Native on the operating system? So the good news is that Vega already supports the most used libraries. So we ported over libraries that covered a majority of the top use cases. So we have support for community libraries like Gesture Handler, Reanimated, and SVG. Expo libraries like File System and Localization. We have system distributed libraries, JavaScript libraries, media players like Bitmovin, and third-party services. But this list is growing. So if there are any library maintainers in the audience and you are not on this list, we want to work with you. And if you are an app developer and there is a library not on this list that you want to use, we want to hear from you. So either way, wherever you fall, you can scan this QR code on the screen to go right to the documentation for each of those routes. But as Stephen mentioned, some of the libraries are bundled in the system, and so I want to give you a closer look at that. All right, so Vega stitches in your split app bundle after the system bundle loads at runtime. So we have our split bundle here. This is your apps bundle. It has only app-specific code and any unique dependencies. And then we have the system bundle. So this is pre-installed onto the device and contains those widely used libraries like React, React Native, and React Native Vega. And it's kept in sync with the native Vega runtime. So this is how we have our smaller app sizes and savings of over 10 megabytes. You'll also see the faster startup times, the automatic upgrades and bug fixes, and consistent syncing between native and JavaScript. If you want to read more technical details about this, we had one of our software engineers who worked on Vega write a really great blog post that goes even more into detail. Unfortunately, I did not have time to cover that, so this QR code is going to take you right to that blog post as well. Okay, so I've spent some time talking about libraries, but how do you actually build something? So let's think more about TV-based experiences. What you're seeing right here is our Fire TV Stick 4K Select. It has the 1 GB of RAM and it's running on Vega. Most of what you're seeing right now is built with React Native, so you're going to hear this a couple times throughout the presentation. It is fast and it is smooth. But what I want you to notice about this demo is that you could think of TV apps like really large lists. And that is going to tee up our third challenge. So when we first started Vega, we knew we needed a fast list component because TV apps are lists upon lists. And Stephen likes to say it's lists all the way down. So Chase brought us back 200 years. I'm going to bring us back even further to the beginning of time. Okay, just kidding. They're only giving us 30 minutes. So let me skip to 2015, that we all care about when React Native was introduced. Shortly after that, Flatlist came about in 2017. And then sometime after that, Vega development began. And we very quickly realized that we were going to need something that performed a lot better than Flatlist. So we built Carousel. Carousel is our native list component, and while I could tell you how performant it is, I do want to just give you a quick demo. So you're going to see that there is the focus behavior built in, so you can always track where your focus is no matter how many items there are. And in this demo, we have hundreds of unique items. So once again, I want to echo that there are hundreds of items, but no dropped frames. But I do think it's worth calling out that we weren't the only ones thinking about more performant lists. So in 2022, we had a flash list, and then shout out to Jay, who spoke earlier. We had legend lists come out earlier this year. So revisiting our question or our thought about TV apps being lists upon lists and how we were going to handle that. Vega not only has its native list component because every operating system needs one, but there are many other awesome list components out there, and Vega supports them all. All right, so I want to jump over to looking at a TV-specific user experience. So what you're looking at right now, you're probably familiar with. It's a channel guide. So you can take a look at what's on at a certain time. And this is a very specialized type of list experience, but you might not know how to build it. So as Stephen mentioned, like a lot of you might be just thinking about mobile, but we want to encourage and challenge you to think about what benefits could be brought to expanding your app to TV. So no matter if you're new to building for TV or experienced, you probably wouldn't want to start from scratch. So I do want to spend a second talking about TV specific considerations because it would not be an Amazon talk if I did not do so. So a couple of things you need to focus on are performance, the font sizes needing to be larger, focus management, and the fact that you don't have a touch screen, you're reliant on the D-pad out of a remote. But don't worry, no matter where you are in your development for TV, Vega Developer Tools provides TV-specific accelerators, including tooling and TV components. So here's an example. We built a custom electronic program guide component, which you are seeing a demo of right here, that can not only handle the large amount of data, but provides, again, that really smooth experience that you're seeing. All right, so we are really excited to be a part of the React community, and we're even more excited that we can finally start engaging on GitHub even more. So our first contributions are our Vega sample apps. They are live today and would really love if you would go check them out on our GitHub. But we're moving even more and more tech onto our GitHub so that you can partner with us on this Vega journey. So we want you to keep an eye out for two that are coming, which are Vega implementations into 3P libraries and parts of Vega developer tools. So I'm going to pass it back to Stephen to help us wrap up here.
Thank you, Kourtney. Like I said earlier, when I started at Amazon, I had a bunch of questions about Vega OS, how it works, how to develop for it, why it matters. And it turns out building a new operating system from scratch was hard. It was very hard, and it required the team to think very long and hard about app and system performance while also juggling developer expectations. But what we found was that React Native made it easier. It made it easier for us not only as OS developers, but also as app developers. The flexibility that React Native provides in bundling, native layering, and developer experience lets us build an operating system and a developer toolkit that lets React Native developers like you reuse your existing skills to build awesome TV apps.
And if you are excited about building TV apps, my colleagues have given some really great talks over the last several years. I recommend checking out our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about any of those. And if you want to build for Vega specifically, you can get started again at developer.amazon.com/Vega. It's going to provide everything that you need to get started building your apps, profiling your app's performance, debugging, and submitting to the App Store. So go ahead and scan this QR code to be brought right to that page. And thank you all for taking the time to be here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.